for you this lesson from Unity of the Keys Spiritual Center. Good morning. I'm so grateful to be here with you today. Every Sunday feels a little bit like coming home. For each one of us arrives carrying all sorts of things. We carry our celebrations and our questions, our disappointments and our hopes. And it is in this sacred space we remember something that we might have forgotten. We remember that we are never carrying life alone. That is the beautiful thing about community. We remind one another that we are each unique, unrepeatable expressions of the divine. We have been exploring the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. What a beautiful little book, filled with wisdom teachings to help us, if we commit to them and practice them, live lives more filled with peace every day. Now, the first three: be impeccable with your word, to not take anything personally, and to not make assumptions so easily align with our unity principles 1, 2, and 3. 1, there's only one presence, one power, God the good, everywhere present. 2, that we are each interconnected with that one presence and one power, and we are therefore all inherently good. And then 3, that we align our thoughts and our words, our actions with this good, that we create our experiences in life through those very thoughts. So today we're exploring the fourth agreement that simply says, always do your best. Now the subtitle could be, God's best is already within you. Well, I have to confess something. When I first heard those words, always do your best, they sounded like yet another assignment. I was a new student of Unity. I was reading everything I could put my hands on, taking classes, practicing spiritual tools, going to workshops. This sounded like yet another thing to accomplish, another standard to live up to, another assignment, another gold star to chase. And I was a willing student, and I was also becoming a bit overwhelmed. More than some of you can identify with this. Always do your best. Some mornings our best feels strong and energetic, creative, and joy-filled. And other mornings our best may simply be getting out of bed, making breakfast, saying a prayer, and choosing kindness instead of discouragement or judgment. And both are enough. That's one of the great spiritual truths we often forget. Your best today may not look like your best yesterday or your best tomorrow. And that's more than okay. In fact, that's life. Jesus understood this beautifully and tried to teach this to us through his actions. He never demanded perfection. He met people exactly where they were. The weary, the outcast, the foreigners, tax collectors, women, the widows, orphans, the hopeful. He extended love to all equally. He saw beyond appearances into the divine possibility already present. And his example is our North Star, our guiding light. Imagine waking each morning and saying, God, thank you for another day. Help me simply bring my best to whatever comes. And this is where our fourth and our fifth unity principles come in. Number 4 is, I pray and I meditate. I remember that inner support system ready to help me through this day. And number 5, I act. It's not enough to know and to understand the principles. I must live them out loud. If we are truly committed to living these 5 basic unity principles, then we are already doing our best. Now, it might not be the world's definition of success or someone else's expectations. It's simply my best and your best. And that affirmation, that prayer sets the intention for the day. God, thank you for another day. Help me simply bring my best to whatever comes. It changes how we work, how we parent, how we listen, how we forgive, how we treat one another, our relatives, our neighbors, our friends, strangers, how we speak to ourselves. It changes how we act. Now, some of us might have grown up believing that doing our best meant never making mistakes. Maybe we learned that love came with conditions. Be good, work harder, don't disappoint anyone, smile, don't cry, don't fail. And before long, doing your best became exhausting. But I don't think that's what Spirit ever intended. I don't believe Jesus walked from village to village saying, try harder, try harder. He shared something much more beautiful. The kingdom of God is within you, within you, and within you, and within you, and within you. Not someday, not after you've fixed yourself, not after years of therapy, not after you've meditated for 20 years, read all the right books, used all the right tools. There is nothing to earn. You are already there. You are already there. The kingdom of God, Christ consciousness, divine life, universal love is right where you are. Right where you are. Eric Butterworth, a renowned unity minister, teacher, and author, often reminded us that our spiritual journey isn't about becoming someone else. It is about awakening to who we have always been. I envision that as awakening to that incredible part of ourselves, our Christ consciousness, that only we can express in the way that we do. Only you can express in the way that you do. And recognizing the glory that is. Awakening feels so much gentler than striving. Awakening is recognizing and igniting what is already there. It's like opening the curtains in the morning. The sun's already shining. You simply opened yourself to it. It is opening yourself to the divine within. Where Denny and I live in Arkansas, we have hummingbirds in the summer. And we used to have a feeder on the back deck where we could watch them from our sunroom. Then the raccoons found the feeder and would empty it every evening, sometimes right in front of us. They would waddle up the steps, their fat little butts, and they'd bump into the holder until it would splash, the food would splash out on the deck, then they'd lick it up on the deck. Or they'd get on the roof and grab it from the top and move it back and forth. They were raccoons simply being raccoons. So we moved the feeder to the front, where we have a squirrel and raccoon-proof bird feeder combo that Denny created. So I can still watch them from my office window or from the front deck, just not as closely. They're further away. But I never have to worry about watching for when the hummingbird feeder is empty. Those hummingbirds know who we are and who feeds them. If their feeder is empty, they zoom around to the back of the house where they can look in the windows of the sunroom. We have 9 huge windows, 3 sides, overlooking the forest. So they hover there from window to window until we notice them. Then I go out and refill their feeder. They have me very well trained. These hummingbirds appear to be perfectly happy with who they are. They don't try to become a bluebird, one of my other favorite birds to watch, or compare themselves to the cardinals with that beautiful red coloring. I doubt they wish they had the wingspan of an eagle. That would get in the way of reaching the feeder. They don't apologize for being small. They simply do what hummingbirds were created to do. They fly, they drink, they live. They fulfill their purpose with the complete joy of being themselves. So one day I thought, now there's a unity lesson. Because creation doesn't struggle to be itself. Only humans do that. We spend so much energy trying to become something else, become better, become worthy, become enough. When the divine within us has always known, you already are. Now, that doesn't mean we stop growing. Unity has always taught that life is about unfoldment. Now, think about that word, unfoldment. A rose doesn't force petals, it unfolds them. Everything beautiful inside it simply emerges in its own season. Maybe that's what doing our best really means. Not forcing or pretending, but simply allowing the divine within us to unfold one day at a time, one interaction at a time, one thought at a time. Have you ever tried gardening to produce vegetables? Well, several years ago, Denny and I planted tomatoes. We were in Wichita and the environment was perfect. And we got really serious about this. We attended a workshop at the library that the Extension Service put on. We studied, we chose the varieties we were going to grow. Denny built a special gardening bed, you know he did, with the best soil. We watered them, we fertilized them, talked to them, encouraged them. We planted marigolds to keep the bugs off of them. And our tomato garden was quite lovely with beautiful, delicious, homegrown tomatoes, the best. And the bugs were persistent. Those stink bugs. I wouldn't have cared so much if they would help themselves to maybe one or two tomatoes on the end of the rows. And I actually told them that they could have them, that those would be sacrificial tomatoes. But no, they would go down the row and chew 1, 2, 3 holes in each tomato and then move to the next, not eating the whole thing. So sometimes you're growing tomatoes and sometimes you're feeding stink bugs. Sometimes the harvest looks different than you expected. But here's the key. The garden wasn't asking us to guarantee the harvest. It was simply asking us to tend to it faithfully. And that's all life is asking of you and of me, to tend the garden, to love your family, to offer kindness, to pray sincerely, to forgive often, to encourage, to see the divine within all others, and to keep planting seeds of love. Jesus understood this. He talked about seeds, tiny, invisible beginnings, quiet growth beneath the surface, planting it on good soil. But you don't dig up a seed every morning to see if it's working. You trust. Trust that your soul knows how to grow. One of the clues to understanding is realizing and accepting that your best does change from day to day. Some mornings my best is inspired and creative and energetic. And some mornings my best is simply remembering where I left my glasses. There may be those of you who can relate. There are seasons when we feel like eagles, and there are seasons when we feel like stink bugs. And the beautiful thing is, even the stink bug has a goal in life, a purpose, to live fully into the being it was created to be, slowly and steadily, without comparing itself to eagles or hummingbirds. That's grace. That is a peaceful heart. Imagine beginning every morning with intention. Before you touch your phone or read the news or check your email, we simply sat quietly and affirmed, the Christ within me greets this day with confidence. I am guided. I am supplied. I am loved. I have everything I need. Imagine how that would change the energy, the vibration, the unfoldment of the entire day. Remembering that gratitude isn't something we practice after blessings arrive. Gratitude is what opens us to recognizing the blessings already there. So we might affirm that we are guided when perhaps we have questions. We affirm we are supplied with all we need when we might not have any earthly idea where the supply will come. We affirm that we are loved when we're not feeling particularly loved yet. And we trust divine life, universal love, spirit, all that is. You may recall the story about Michelangelo, the famous Italian sculptor and painter. He's attributed a very popular quote. When he was asked how he created the statue of David, he replied, I created a vision of David in my mind, and I simply carved away everything that was not David. That is our spiritual work. We're not creating the divine self. We're removing everything that is not it. We're removing fear. We're removing guilt. We're removing comparison. We're removing thoughts of limitation. We're removing all the false stories that we've ever believed about ourselves, until what remains is the very essence that was created from the beginning. Whole, radiant, beloved. That is doing our best, simply allowing our true self to shine. Each day, simply ask us to be present, to listen, to notice beauty, to encourage someone, to forgive someone, maybe ourselves. Imagine ending each day with a simple question. Did I do my best with the love in my heart today? If the answer is yes, then rest. You have lived a holy day. And not because everything went perfectly, but because love was expressed. It's a daily opening of the heart. And if the answer is no, tomorrow's a new day. Doing your best is really another way of saying, today I choose to let God's love flow through me as fully as I know how. And Carolyn has a slide for us with that affirmation so that we can speak it together. Today I choose to let God's love flow through me as fully as I know how. The fourth agreement is not about working harder to do our best. It's about living more honestly, more authentically, remembering to pause, pray, take time to meditate, and to listen to that beautiful, clear, compassionate, and loving guidance that will be revealed. The guidance that only you receive, that only you can fulfill. And then to move forward to truly live who you are out loud. It means showing up fully, offering what we have, trusting that God multiplies every sincere effort. Divine love blesses our willingness to serve, to forgive, to begin again. Always do your best. Today's best, offered with love and compassion, with faith and with gratitude. And when tomorrow comes, do your best again. That is a spiritual practice. These four agreements are invitations to conscious living, the awareness that we speak of so often. They remind us that spiritual transformation begins always within. May these agreements become not merely ideas we admire, but practices we live. So this week, may you wake each morning remembering that you are and have always been a beloved, unique expression of God. And so it is.